Hi, welcome back to Intro to Christianity. We're continuing in our introduction. We're talking about what is religion. We talked about a definition of religion and 5 implications of the definition last time. Today we want to talk about basic beliefs in general, and this is going to be leading up to Christianity as a world and life view. So let's look at this definition of basic belief. Our most basic belief has to do with our most basic concept. And our most basic concept is about existence. Something is, and something can be in 2 ways. It could be forever or eternal, or it could be not forever, not always. And that's called temporal. So there's 2 kinds of existence we can talk about: eternal existence and temporal existence. Eternal is that which has no beginning and no end. Temporal has a beginning at least. And everlasting is a version of temporal. Everlasting is something that has a beginning and it continues forever. So our most basic belief is about our most basic concept, eternal existence. Okay, so basic beliefs are foundational beliefs. If you recall, I don't know, maybe I haven't talked about this, your house. And on the bottom level is how we know things, authority, how do I know? And then we have a foundation, which is our basic belief. And that basic belief is about what is eternal. And that determines what our house looks like, our values, attitudes, the world and life view. We have talked about this, I remember now. There are 2 basic beliefs. And the 2 basic beliefs are either everything is eternal, all is eternal, or only some things are eternal. And all of the world's religions fall into those categories, the historically held belief systems. Now, you might be wondering, well, what about nothing is eternal? None is eternal cannot be held, since it implies that being came from non-being. I'll give you a little argument. So if you were in, let's say, a logic class with me, we would talk about the square of opposition. The square of opposition has diagonal corners. And the diagonal corners, like this, represent contradictory positions. Contradictions cannot both be true, and they cannot both be false. So when we put positions on that square that have to do with eternal, you can imagine it this way. I wish I had a drawing for you. And the top square here would say none is eternal. Over here would say all is eternal. These 2 positions are contraries. When you have all is eternal, the contradiction down here is some is not eternal. And when you have this position here that says none is eternal, the contradiction is some is eternal. So to say that nothing is eternal is to deny that something is eternal. Okay, so we have nothing is eternal, something is eternal. They're contradictory positions. They can't both be true at the same time. So let's think about nothing is eternal for a moment. There is no thing that is always. Okay, so we can analyze the meaning of nothing is eternal. If nothing is eternal, then everything is temporal, non-eternal. And if everything is temporal, and temporal means had a beginning, then everything had a beginning. And if everything had a beginning, then everything came into existence. It came into being. And if everything came into being, then the very first thing also came into being, and it would have come from non-being. But that's not possible. Being cannot come from non-being. Well, let's examine why. Being is something that exists. And if it exists, it has properties, qualities. And if it exists, it has the power to be. But non-being doesn't exist. It has no properties, no qualities, and no power to be. So that which has no power to be cannot give rise to being. It's impossible. So nothing is eternal is ruled out on our square. What's left, though, is this corner over here, or was it over here? All is eternal. And when we have the possibility that something is eternal, it could be that something is included with all, or it could be that something is included with something is not eternal. So either everything is eternal, or some is and some is not, which we're calling only some is eternal. And that's how we get the two basic beliefs. And under these positions, we could be more specific about different religions. And I'm doing this because I want you to know where Christianity falls and the other challenges to Christianity, external challenges. So under all is eternal, everything has always existed in some form or another, are the following religions: secular humanism, or materialism, or naturalism, sometimes called atheism, although atheism could fall under another category too. Secular humanism says that all is matter, matter is eternal, there is no spirit, no God, no soul. So that, in that sense, it is atheistic, no God. Theism means God. So that's one alternative, and that's probably the most well-known external challenge to Christianity today, materialism. But there's also other views. Hinduism says all is one, or Atman is Brahman. The self is the highest reality. And the highest reality is spirit. It is not matter. There is no matter in this view. It's illusion. So the world that we observe is illusion. It's unreal. And you can see how that's an alternative to theism, Christianity. This says that all is God and God is all. Pantheism. So that's another external challenge to Christianity. Then there's Buddhism. Buddhism is a view that says neither matter nor spirit are eternal. What is eternal is the process of being and becoming. Change. Change is eternal. So there's no fixed permanent material, and there's no fixed permanent soul, no God. So it is atheistic as well. They're going to say all is dukkha, and dukkha is suffering. All is suffering. All is an eternal process. All is change. So that's an external challenge to Christianity. And then there's dualism, and we'll probably talk about dualism a lot, because when Christianity comes on the scene in the Roman world, dualism was the dominant philosophy of the day. And I'll give you a few samples of dualism as we go through the class, but dualism says that matter, the material world, what's physical and extended, and spirit, non-physical and conscious, are both eternal. So we should probably define those terms. Matter is that which can be measured, it's extended, it has size. And energy is an aspect of matter, because we could measure energy. Spirit has no size, but it is conscious. It's a conscious being, okay, like your soul, or like God. So dualism said there's two things, matter and spirit, and they both exist forever. Now, we will look at Greek dualism in our class, because Plato and Aristotle were both Greek philosophers that were very influential at the time when Christianity comes on the scene, and the first thinkers in Christianity had to deal with those philosophers. And there were many ways that they responded to those philosophers, but the way they did respond to the challenge of dualism is with us still today. So we'll have to look at Greek dualism. But there's also Persian dualism, Indian dualism, and some say that Latter-day Saints or Mormonism is also dualism. And they claim to be Christianity, but there are significant differences that we'll have to discuss along the way. Then there's Taoism, Confucianism, and Shintoism, which are Eastern religions that are more naturalistic. Nature is ultimate reality, and sometimes it's has spirits connected to it. They are less concerned with this question about what is eternal and more concerned about right living, ethics. And then shamanism is the belief in spirits and nature and magical powers. Sometimes there's a highest power, a god. Sometimes nature is the highest. So there are varying degrees of consciousness and consistency with which one of these basic beliefs can be held. We've talked about that before. Under only some is eternal is this the view that God is the creator, God is eternal, and everything else is temporal and created. So we have 3 world religions that fall under theism, which we will be focused on, Judaism, and there are different branches of Judaism today. Orthodox Judaism, Reformed, Conservative, Reconstruction, Hasidic, they all have different ways that they have responded to secular humanism. So these divisions within Judaism are responses to the external challenge of humanism, secular humanism. Christianity is the second religion under theism, or only some is eternal. There's Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Protestant divisions within Christianity, and you will learn about those. And then Islam is the third religion under only some is eternal, or theism, and they have divisions as well, Sunni, Shia, and Sufi. And as we go through, we'll talk about the relationships between these 3 theistic religions. They're all called the Abrahamic faiths. They go back to the patriarch Abraham in the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament. And then there's a view called deism. Deism is a logical option, but historically it happens after the development of Western European philosophy and the wars of religion, particularly connected to Christianity, when Roman Catholics and Protestants are warring after the Reformation. So deism is a view you should know about. It says God creates the world but does not actively rule in the world. Deists believe that God has left a witness of himself in the created order and in human nature, particularly in morality, but he does not intervene in the created order. There is no scripture in this view. Okay, so those are the definitions of basic beliefs. We have 2 basic beliefs. All is eternal, or only some is eternal. And in history, they have been, each has been an external challenge to the others. These divisions you see here, Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, Protestant, are internal challenges to Christianity. And remember, religions are being worked out by the challenges and their responses to challenges. So this is how religions develop and change over time. They probably don't change in these big categories about what is eternal, but they do change insofar as their understanding is pressed through challenge. They have to become more conscious and more consistent over time. And so that's the challenge of reason to each religion. I think I'm going to pause here, but next time what we want to do is look at definition of God, particularly in theism, and then we'll look at different levels of religion. So that's where we're going to go next. Thank you.